See the season pro.
Absolutely, I know exactly what I'm doing. Good morning and welcome to the latest Bad Dice episode video. We're doing multimedia recording here, which is very exciting. And I am here in the lovely Portsmouth area, Horndean kind of place, I'm not quite sure. But I'm here for South Coast GT 2013, and I'm sat here with Mr. Dan Heelan.
Hello.
Give it up for Dan. That's the live studio audience.
Yeah.
Which,
hello, studio audience.
Which are here, which are awesome. So, Dan Heelan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good actually. I'm good. The initial stress is over, so yeah, I'm not feeling too bad. The stress will come when I have to do the draw between the rounds 2 and 3, when there's like a 15-minute gap to get all sort of tables in.
15 minutes. Everything seems very close time-wise here. We heard Mr. Wayne Kemp, lovely Wayne Kemp, giving his military-esque speech to the whole world, and he was saying that timing is so important because you've got something like, is it 9 million players here this weekend?
9 million, yeah. We've got capacity for 200. As usual, a lot of people dropped out on the day, didn't turn up, the usual sort of stuff. So we're
naughty.
We're on about, we're just under 190 at the minute. So. Yeah.
Now that's mad for a UK event. I think that is quite high. Would you say that's one of the highest?
It is the highest. Yeah,
it is
Games
the
Workshop
highest.
used to be the largest event in terms of numbers because they had the venue that could hold it. But I think they only get about 150. So
wow.
But next year, yeah, I think we'll sell 206 places next year because I'd like to say we're a 200-person tournament, which we've got the capacity for. But inevitably, at least 5 people don't turn up on the day they pay. So if we get 206, if all 206 turn up, and we were sitting in a room now which could hold another 20 war games if we needed it to, but again, logistics and stuff. The venue has a capacity of 450 people. It's just tables and space.
No, of course. This isn't the actual room where people are playing. As you can see, there's no one here. We thought we'd just sneak off to a quiet little room. It's basically my own personal office, so I'll be calling the boys forward to give them their report cards and their detentions and punishments. I've got quite a few lined up. Yeah. Why is South Coast GT so popular?
We always ask ourselves. I don't really know. I don't know because there's not a lot of tournaments in the south, and oddly this weekend always seems to time with a weekend which is really, really sunny. Not this weekend. It's raining. If it's the first time in the last sort of 4 years we've done it, but it is. I don't really know. I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we came to do the tournament, we went out there and said it's going to be the biggest thing ever, and as a result, a lot of people bought into it, enjoyed themselves, and then it sort of spiralled every year, and we hype up the ticket sales and everything else. And this year was silly. I mean, we sold. After we mucked around with the refunds, we sold just about 250 tickets in 3 minutes. So it sold out in under 3 minutes, but 3 minutes we sold that sort of quantity. And I think it's just, I don't know, part of it's hype, but obviously people have a good time or they wouldn't come back. So and we try and keep it simple with what we do with composition and how we go about the game. And it seems to appeal to a wider audience. We tend to get a lot of people that don't do a lot of Warhammer tournaments coming here. And this is their only one and they plan their army for the whole year. So it's been quite good.
That's nice. I mean, that credit to yourself as well for making an event that people want to come to. But let's just talk about comp for a few moments. There's a lot of UK and foreign tournaments that tend to use the South Coast GT comp in inverted commas. What is the South Coast GT comp for 2013?
We did something a bit different this time. We went back to the drawing board and we put. It wasn't really the drawing board. We just decided we didn't really like how restrictive it was. I mean, myself and Russ have played a lot of tournaments over the years, and Wayne's played a lot of tournaments, but myself and Russ tend to play a lot of the harder ones and at the slightly higher level. Not being rude to Wayne, but that's just how it is. As I'm sure he'll admit. That's the way we like to play Warhammer generally. It's fairly hard, but a tournament, it's always, I think, about trying to get the most deserving winner, if you like. And some compacts, I think, don't always lend themselves to that. So if you've got scenarios that muck up deployment and things, I think they can cause problems where you have people that the argument is they're more tactical, but I think you have this also games get ruined by it. So we try and avoid those. That was the first thing, is we always go 6 games pitch battle. It's not the funnest way to play Warhammer. I'll admit that. I like to mix it up a bit in my own games, but for a tournament perspective, it's nice, straightforward, and fairly balanced. So that was the first one, and then we just went back and decided we always were about max choice, but trying to take the edge off things. So we're not rules writers. I mean, if we wanted to go and change around with points and things, it's a case of balancing it slightly, but it's not about balance. So I mean, if you take a Wood Elf army under this comp, it is significantly harder than say taking a Escaping army to play with. Unfortunately, that's the level of the books, and we're not there to correct that. But what we are there to do is make sure that the gap isn't so bad that you can't overcome it. So we try and take the edge off those top armies and squeeze the pack a bit together that way. But we don't boost the bottom ones because that turns out to be rules writing, really. So
yeah, and that's what I don't like, and we talk about on the podcast quite often. I think Ben and Mark don't mind comp, but it does my head in, because I barely know the rules as it is, and then you have to go to a tournament and they all change it.
Yeah.
Is your comp pack quite easy for people to understand?
Yeah, I think so. We always make I see the ETC comp as an example of something that's actually poorly written in terms of understanding what actually it means. So we spend a lot of time looking at our wording, trying to make it clear. So, and even then, we had to amend it with a later one just to make some of the wording clear. Really crystals that people didn't ask, and we had to support it with an FAQ document in some areas and things. So there's always that until it goes out to the public. You don't really, you understand it, but you want to see if they understand. So we altered that a little bit. But yeah, I think it's fairly easy to read. I mean, but the basic premise of it this year is that you have a pool choice. So say, I don't know what the choice is, but say Skaven Army has 8 choices, and most of the good stuff will be in there because it's a good list. So it forces you to make decisions over. You can take anything you want. I mean, we've got people taking tech lists and special characters that generally have been banned for years. You can take them,
absolutely.
but you get nothing else, like what we would deem a power choice in there. So it's about being able to take anything you want, but not being able to have it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, and that's fair. And that's based on yours and Russ's and Wayne's idea of what you hear. Do you ever get information from the internet, from the forums, to what people are liking, or do you steer clear of that?
We tend to make a decision early on, and we've always done this, that we write the compact how we want to write it. And whilst we're always interested in feedback and after the event, and already I know there's several places we've made, in quotes, mistakes, or there's things that we would tweak in the next one. Where we haven't thought of something and we've seen it and gone, don't fancy playing. If I was playing in the tournament, I would not want to play against that. And like Dwarfs, a good example. I think we've pigeonholed them too much into a particular type of build, which is not fun for them and not fun for us as an opponent. So that would be something we've taken the feedback from the players and we'll change it. But a lot of the time, you have to filter the feedback because, I mean, unfortunately, myself and Russ have played Warhammer at a high level, both ETC and domestically for a few years, and we like to think that our opinion... Domestically? Are you a couple?
Yeah, well, yeah. It sounds like you're a little gay couple.
No, we're certainly not. But yeah, trying to use art, drawing our own experiences, and sometimes filter through the feedback, because there's a lot of guys who only play in their local Games Workshop, for example, who could give a massively opinion of why something is wrong.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just don't agree with it. So you have to go with your own instincts of what you think is right and wrong with the comp pack, and then go from there. But trying to take on board feedback, you can't know everything. I don't play Dwarfs all the time, and what the Dwarf players have said about the comp is absolutely spot on. And if we, over the years, we've sort of, because people do pick it up, we've tended to update a version, so a version 1.4 or something, and just tweak stuff as new books come out or as it goes, so people can use it. It's never been our intention for it to work like that. It's just how it's happened over the years, with it being such a big event. So we'll probably do that this year.
But it stops it being a dusty old comp system that is just there and existed in the ether. Yeah. And it's 2,400 points?
Yes.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking that you guys were the first to introduce that a few years back?
No, I think it was just time of 8th edition. We were one of the first major tournaments and nobody really knew where to set the points level.
Right.
And the scenes and ETC and scenes across the world, I think, have very easily settled to 2,400 points. Whether that's a good thing, I don't know. We're actually talking about doing 2,000 points next year because the army concepts tend to change at 2,000 points because you can't fit like certain double lords and double rares and things in that you would. And often people moan about it because it throws everything out that they've ever played with. But I think
they've got to create a new list.
Exactly. I think it creates variety, which is the biggest problem with this. Is people do out of ease. Skipping slightly to another topic is that tournament organisers generally, as independent organisers, they're not as numerous as they were, and they're also very, very wary of doing their own composition, because what tends to happen is they post on the Warhammer forum, and the tournament community as a whole feel like they should have a say in that pack, and as a result, it's like kind of duck your head under the parapet as you get stuff chucked at you for it. Whereas we're in a bit of a fortunate situation where people would probably attend whatever we decided to do, but. And as a result, they tend to borrow, say, our comp pack or the ETC comp pack, and then the tournament scene gets stale and everyone plays the same thing. Yeah. So we try ourselves to change it where we can. So I mean, we were thinking next year 2,000 points for, I don't know, so it might not happen, but 2,000 points for next year. Also because of timings. I mean, you said about Wayne being a bit military, but this size of event, you can't have people...
farting about.
Yeah, they muck around and they wait for the round time. I think that I'll wait for them to chase me. And of course, when you've got this many people and this many results and things, and the projector that we have to put it on, it takes time. So we like to make sure 2,000 points might make that a bit easier, I think.
Okay. Now, in that military speech to the people, Wayne said about there would be deductions of points for people that didn't get them in, and he said he was going to be quite strict on that.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, we do it every year, but the last few years we've been really strict on that. And as it happens, funny enough, no one submits their results late. We haven't had an issue with it. We've just had a couple last year, I think we put our foot down and said, no, add it up now or you get 0. But that's it. So we've never had to give 0, and hopefully we won't, because at the end of the day we want to find a deserving winner and see that result sheet at the end and know that people placed where they placed because of how they played, not because of how lazy they were getting results.
What about not getting all 6 turns in?
Yeah, we've monitored that over the years as well. We've got a thing to monitor. Generally, it's not been too bad because we play on tournaments a lot. We know the repeat offenders, so they're normally cracked down on early, and we haven't had a massive problem with it. It doesn't seem to be a big deal. As I say, it's normally just a few people.
Okay, but will they get dock points?
Oh yeah, certainly. If they did it consistently, they would, because it can become a tactic.
Yeah.
It's not one that's widely used, but it's a convenient one sometimes. So yeah, we do keep an eye on it.
Tactic. What about bad sportsmanship and cheating? How are you going to tackle that?
We've got a card system, which is very much how Games Workshop used to handle their GTs. I can't remember if they still do, but
they have a game of poker to decide who's the winner.
No, it's done with a yellow and red card. I mean, Russ, for a joke, went and bought a set of referees cards from the internet. So he's got a little red and a yellow card. So he used to be like off. But hopefully we won't have to use them. I've seen them use at the ETC because my opponent got red card at the ETC, and it's quite funny in a way to see a red card coming out of someone's pocket and be like, right, you're off. But we've never had to use. No, we have had to use it. We had to use it for dice cheating a few years ago, but we've not. Apart from that, we've never had to use it, and hopefully we won't have to do. Most stuff's resolved easily with a word in the ear. So yeah, it's fine.
Talking about ETC, there's a few jolly foreigners here at this event.
Yes.
Why do you think it's appealing to people from other countries as well?
I think it's again, it's a big tournament that gets quite a bit of coverage on the interwebs, and podcasters and things cover it, and people know about it. And again, it's just hype, isn't it? You know, it gets built hype. And if you're going to come to the UK to experience the UK scene, it's probably it's a good bet, isn't it, that you can turn up to this one and see a wide range of armies and people like that. So they've come across. I mean, for them, it'd be good to see how they match up against UK gamers.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We've always, myself and Wayne and Russ have always talked about, going to America. You're off to Adepticon next week to do it.
Absolutely.
And see how we got on against American gamers and how they play. So
eating hamburgers in my head and donuts the whole way through, and shooting guns when they win. Yeah, maybe we shall see. Lastly, what are you looking forward to over the weekend? And have you seen some nice armies and some nice players as well?
There is a few good armies this weekend, which is encouraging because you tend to get on the UK scene a little bit of a min-max style these days, where people paint the latest filth to get it to a tournament, and it's literally 3 colours and what some people call basing on it, and that'd be it. But this weekend there's some really nice ones. The 2 US guys that are here from Point Hammer podcast, they got really nice armies. Steve Wren from the English scene, he's pulled a really nice army out of the bag for this event. Ben Johnson, there's a load of them. We're going to go around. The guys at the moment, they're talking in my ear as we're speaking, but they're going around.
Voices in your head.
Just in case they need me. But they're marking armies, and there's going to be a thing going on the projector where people can go and see the armies that are up for nomination, because we don't do players' votes anymore, because apart from being another data input, it's very much slanted by whose club turns up, unfortunately. Sometimes it's a bit of favouritism thing, so we just bin it and judge it ourselves, and we have a 1, 2, 3. But we'll be highlighting all the armies we considered, so that people can see the good armies, because sometimes they get missed with 100 tables. You miss
absolutely, and I think Mark in the past has been missed at some tournaments because of that.
Yeah.
We're going to have a chat with Wayne later on about that as well, so you can find out all about the painting, and you can also have a look on our Facebook page at a lot of the armies, because I've seen some awesome ones out there, pink and purpley ones. Massive thumbs up from me. Are there quite a few? What's the new book that just came out? Chaos Warriors.
Oh yeah, Warriors Chaos.
Are there
and Demons.
billions demons? Are there thousands of those?
Yeah, the Demons was a late addition, so a lot of people didn't have their armies ready for them. So there's probably 12, 13 of the 190-ish armies here. But Warriors of Chaos were 38, so there's a lot. I honestly don't think they'll do that well, and we'll find out. There's a couple of good players that are playing them, so that might skew the results slightly. But I don't think it will be that kind of massive skew where all of them are doing so well. But we'll see.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for chatting to us, mate. We'll speak to you a little bit later on, and have an awesome day.
I will do. Brilliant. Cheers. See you later. See you.
Cool. Awesome.
Right. 2 secs, because Ross was talking in the ear.
Yeah.
Hello. Sorry, mate. Did you want me?